So in this video, we're going to be using a horse named Shay. It's a 2-year-old that my wife owns. And what happened was a little while ago, we were moving horses around and we needed to tie her up to the hitching rail. And I knew that she'd been tied before in the past. So we went ahead and wrapped her around the rail. And it didn't take very long before she was there, before she pulled back. And because it was just wrapped, it just slid back a bit. So that was safe, so she didn't get hurt or anything. But it made me realize that she has this could turn into a pullback issue if we just kept tying her without doing some more preparation. Now, there's a lot of videos on YouTube on horses that pull back, and a lot of them involve just tying the horse up to something. And while you can do that, there's some other things that you can do to access that same box in their brain, which in my mind is more of like the claustrophobic box. They feel claustrophobic. It's the same place that a horse feels when there's a saddle on them for the first time, or when you ask them to go into a horse trailer for the first time. Any of these things make horses feel claustrophobic. It's natural. It's a natural response for them. And so what I want to do is prepare her beyond surface level, okay? And what I mean by surface level is if all I do is lead her around and put a feel on the halter and just get her to follow me, well, she's not really feeling that claustrophobic. So just because I lead her around and get her to follow a feel from the halter, or even if I added lowering the head down, again, because of how easy that is, it's surface level, meaning I could still tie her up and you know, the conditions were right. If it was 70 degrees, no wind, she probably could stand tied. But if the conditions were not ideal, something like maybe the temperature just dropped, maybe it was windy, maybe it's a new environment, or maybe it was as simple as the situation we had the other day, which was we tied her and took another horse away from her, and that was enough to get her kind of stirred up emotionally, okay? So a lot of times with horses, conditions are not ideal. So when you're practicing, you're not practicing for today, you're practicing and preparing for what might happen in the future, kind of getting a horse prepared for life. And so again, we're going to build depth of this. So what I need to do is put her in some binds, put her in some situations that have a little bit of more difficulty to it, so that she's going to come through on the other side having a deeper level of understanding of pressure. So one of the ways that I'm going to do this is by putting the rope between her legs here. Now I've done this with her one other time, but a lot of times when you do this, their response can be to run backwards, okay? So you have to decide, for those of you watching, if your skill is high enough to try something like this, or if you should have, you know, a trainer or somebody that knows what they're doing, put your horse in these situations. But I'll let you guys decide that. I believe in personal responsibility, okay? So she might run backwards. If she does, I'm gonna go with her here, but I'm gonna keep the pressure on the rope there. And when she lowered her head and relaxed, that's when I quit right there, okay? Now I'm gonna do it again. So I'm gonna go ahead and pull on it a little bit. She's thinking about it, she's thinking about it, and I'm trying to get her to bend her leg here. And she did. She gave her foot, she was giving her head down, so I'm going to go ahead and release her there. Very good. Okay, let's go ahead and try again. Oh, very good. She had a very good response. So I put a little pressure on, I made some noise, kind of moved my hand. Okay. Got her a little bothered, and then she's choosing to give and relax. Very good. Very good. So she's working through that puzzle, no problem. Now, I would also like to see if she could maybe, whoops, she got a little bind there. So again, just wait on her here. So the answer isn't go backwards. The answer is just give and relax. Very good. Okay. Now I'm going to see if I can get her to go forward, though, with this. Good. So anytime she gives and relaxes and goes into that nice standstill, relax box, that's what we're after. Now I'll try to go forward. So I'm increasing the difficulty by asking her for a little bit of movement right now. But anytime she gets bothered, like right there, I'll just stay with her, wait for her to relax. Very good. Very good. Okay, let's get forward again. So I'm going to give her slack here to get some forward. Now I'll put a little feel. Now, it is possible that she could turn away from me right there. Very good. And if she did, I would just hold on the rope and let her kind of work through it. If you wanted to, you could easily go into a round pen or something. You could also see, you know, if a horse was tied up to a rail or cross ties, and most of you watching that own horses, you can think of situations where you've seen a horse panic while being tied up to something. So my point is, doing this is a lot safer than tying her up to something and letting her pull back and strain her neck and hurt her body to do that. And because I know that that's apt to happen, I can be ahead of that and be prepared instead of lucky. Okay. Now, there's other ways that you can set up to do this. You can also do this with just putting the rope around a front leg here and just asking her to take a step here. You could break it into simple steps if you want to. It's up to you of how big or small the steps are. Another step that you could do is you could just ask them to lower their head and back up at the same time. So just by adding in movement to it, you can kind of increase the difficulty. Or you could ask them to lower their head and side pass. Very good, very good. So she's there. So at first she was trying to raise her head up, and then she kind of found the answer there. So I'll just give her a rub and go, hey, that was it. And so trying to think about just exposing her to a little bit of pressure and a little bit of this claustrophobic feeling with things other than just tying her up.